Hello, my crafty friends. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to show you how to make this card. We're using the Regency Park Designer Series paper and the Sentimental Park stamp set. And you can see this is a standing screen. See how I can stand up like that. And then you can see how the inside looks. So it's kind of a fun fold, something that used to be seen a lot, maybe not quite so often anymore, but I thought that this stamp set lent itself really well to it. So we are going to use the stamp set. We're using the 2 stamps and then the thanks. And then the inside sentiment is actually from the Something Fancy stamp set. May the good you do come back to you. And so let's get started, and I will show you, give you all the measurements that you need to make this card. We actually made this card in my class. I host classes here in the Greensboro, Georgia area. So if you're in the area, I would love for you to join me. These are all the measurements for this, this card. You can take a screenshot, or I will also have all of the measurements on the description in the video. So whether you're seeing me on Facebook or YouTube, you should be able to find all this information in the description. My name is Linda Edwards. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Crafty Heron Designs is my company, and I love to inspire you to unleash your inner creativity. So if you do not have the things you need to make this card, I hope that you will use what you do have, adapt it, with whatever you have in your stash. And if you want to purchase something that you see in my video, I'd love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and you can find that at craftyherondesigns.stampinup.net, and no www on that. I'm sorry, I need to change that. But again, thank you for joining me. Let's go through the materials. So we start with a card base, and I'm using Night of Navy. It is cut at 11 by 5.5. And it is scored at 2 3/4, 5.5, and 8 1/4. And we are going to accordion fold this like that. So see how that's, so fold it in half and then fold those 2 back. So I'm going to bring in my bone folder and go ahead and give those a good crease. It will stand up on its own. It's kind of a fun fold. That way, but I like to give it a good crease so that it doesn't, so that it folds down as well, and it will fit in a standard envelope. So we'll set that aside. Next, you'll need a piece of basic white, and it is cut at 6 3/4 by 4 1/4, and this is going to become our 3 panels, and I'll show you some secrets about how to get that to look so that it all coordinates together. And then we will have the DSP, the Regency Park. I've got one of them is cut at 4 1/4 by 2 1/4. So that's one. And then I've got a coordinating colors, and I didn't have enough. This does come with a coordinating yellow, but because I did a card class, I wanted them all to be the same. So I'm actually using, this is from the Dandy Designs. It's actually retired. It was available as a host set during Celebration this year from Stampin' Up! So this is retired, but the Regency Park does have a coordinating color. This is the Mango Melody that you can use with this stamp set as well. These are cut, you cut 4 of them, and they are cut at 4.5 by 2.5. And then I cut one smaller piece it's about 3.5 by 2, and we're going to use that for the sentiment. And then I have a piece of, I don't have that on here. This is a Mango Melody, and it is also cut at about 3.5 by 2. It's going to be used to reinforce the sentiment. And then I have a piece of basic white. This is again for the sentiment. Also, this is a kind of a scrap, 3.5 by 2.5. And when I do my card classes, I cut the little corner off the side so that they know this is for stamping and die cutting. And then I have a scrap piece of Balmy Blue, and you can see I've already cut out some of the pieces from here. So it's just a scrap, and I am using the adhesive sheets on the back. And then, of course, an envelope. So that's what I'm going to be using for this card front today, for this card. So I'm going to set all this aside. And I'm going to move this off to the side. I do have all the information for what is available. Now, the Mango Melody ink is one of the colors that's going to be retired. I'm filming this in April of 2023. We've got a new catalog coming out May 2nd. And Mango Melody, there is a color refresh coming out with this new catalog, which is quite exciting, I think. But Mango Melody is one of the colors that is going to be retired. So yeah, just so that you know, that one is going to be retired. I do love that color, and so we're going to use it today. So let's start with our stamping. I think I will start with the scrap of white, and I'm going to use the Thanks that comes in the Sentimental Park folder or stamp set. And I am going to go ahead and stamp and then die cut this. So I'm just going to do this in the middle. And then we'll set that aside. And then the rest of the stamping. So before I start the stamping, what I did, eventually I want this to be 3 panels. So I made a little tick mark for myself with my ruler so that I would know where those panels are going to be. And so it's a 2 1/4. So because I'm doing a continuous design on this, I kept this all cut as one piece. And so it's 2 1/4, 4 1/2, and then there will be another 2 1/4. So each of these is 2 1/4 inches wide. If you're going to make this so that your panels are different, you don't need to do it this way. But because I want this kind of continuous design on mine, I am going to, here, let me set this up here so that you can see. See how I kind of wanted this design to be continuous? I'm going to come back later and cut them, and I wanted them to meet up. So that's why I went ahead and marked this so that visually I would know where that's going to be. So I'm going to bring in, I'm going to do the outline stamp first. You can see this outline stamp. And I'm going to bring in a piece of paper because I am going to go off the page. So let me bring this in. It's probably larger than I need, but that's okay. I'm going to bring this in. As you can see, I've got my little tick marks here and here. And you could always just mark on your paper. But I'm going to go ahead and start tap, 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 nice and lightly. And I am going to bring this off the page a little bit. That. And then I'm going to turn it, and I want another one to be here. And then this next one, I'm going to turn it again. I'm kind of using these little, I don't know if they're supposed to be berries or what, but these little circles as my guide. And I'm eyeballing, so I've got this straight. Here, let's go ahead. I think I'm going to line it up on this mark here, so that I know that's where it's going to cross over. And I want this to come, I want it a little low because I know my sentiment is going to go right there. So I'm going to bring this right here. And then I will slide it over and line it up again. And this is where the next cut mark will be. And again, I want that to cross over, but I want more of it on my middle panel. So I'm going to, I'm kind of eyeballing where that is. I want some of those flowers to be on both sides. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to come up to the top here. And these could cross over a little bit too. So let's go ahead and do that. And then one more down here. There. Okay, so that's it. Oh, nope, that's not it for the navy. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my sentiment. Now you could do this after you cut it or before, whatever you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and kind of line it up. I'm centering it on this. This is where it's going to be centered. I'm looking at that line. So I'm going to bring this in and, you know, let's test it first and see how level it is. I don't know if you've ever done this, but I'm going I'm using the lines on my paper to see. Can you see that? How it's kind of tilted a little bit down. So I'm gonna, when I stamp it, I'm gonna center it a little bit off to the left and to offset that. There we go. Okay, so that's there. And now I'm gonna bring in my Balmy Blue. Now these are photopolymer stamps. So if you have a mat, you should be using that, a Stampin' Pad. I have my, my piece here is actually a mouse pad, this surface that I'm stamping on, so I don't need to have the another mat underneath it. So it's already a little bit squishy. Okay, so what I did with this is I did some of them full strength and some of them I stamped off. So I am just going over the top of this, kind of lining up those small circles and then lining up the large flowers. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm gonna line that up and then I want this one to be stamped off. But if I go ahead and do that, can you see how there's still a little bit of ink on that edge because it went off the page? See that? So it would come out as a little bit dark, that line would show up. So I'm gonna come back to that later. So I'm gonna, again, line this one up. This one I wanna be full strength. And stamp it off. And then this one, I want to be, let's see, I want this one full strength. So I'm gonna go ahead and line that one up. And now, because the whole thing was colored, and stamped off as one, I can go ahead and do that, like that. And then I think I want this one, I'm gonna re-ink. And I'm gonna take this one and stamp it here. But again, I'm gonna re-ink, stamp off, actually, stamp off again. Let's do that, re-ink, stamp off, and now I'm gonna come in here and stamp off on this one. There we go. So you can see I've got kind of a variation in color there. And then, because I liked the way this, the yellow in here came through, I did go ahead and come in with my marker and the Mango Melody marker and add some yellow in here. And it's just basically a line. I'm kind of going along the white that comes on either side of this stamen of this flower. I think it's called the stamen, right? Don't remember my biology. And I'm just adding a little bit of yellow to give it a little bit of interest, and it's gonna pick up the yellow in the designer series paper that's gonna be layered behind this. So just kind of quickly go through and leave a little yellow in each of these. I probably should have done this part ahead of time so you guys don't have to sit there and watch me, but that's okay. We'll talk a minute about the color refresh that's coming. It's actually pretty exciting. About every 5 years, Stampin' Up does this color refresh. They keep some colors. They return some of our in colors. So if you're new to Stampin' Up, every year Stampin' Up brings out 5 new in colors, they call them, and they are gonna be around. We know ahead of time they're gonna be around for 2 years. So every year we do get 5 new colors, but then about every 5 years, they do a complete color refresh. So I think we have 11 colors either returning, because some of the colors are coming back. They were in colors previously, and they are coming back. And then some of them are brand new colors that we've never had before. And then we also have just the usual in colors that are brand new. So lots of new colors coming, new color combinations. It's really kind of exciting. It's a great way for Stampin' Up to kind of stay on trend and allow us some new materials that, you know, kind of just refreshing what we can do. So it's a busy, exciting time in the Stampin' Up world, let me tell you. So those will be available to customers May 2nd. If you want to get your hands on them sooner, you could join my team. Demonstrators have actually already been able to purchase the new in colors and some of the items from the new catalog. So if you'd like more information about that, I'd be happy to have you join my team. Okay, so now, let me set that aside. I'm gonna cut this. Bring in my Stampin' trimmer, and I'm gonna cut this panel. And if you remember, I said it was gonna be at 2 1/4. So I do have my little mark there that I made, but I'm just gonna come through and cut that panel. And then the next one also at 2 1/4. There we go. And, you know, I did it once just holding, I cut them all first. And then, held them, lined them up, and stamped them. And that works just fine too. But you do have to be careful when you do that so that you really have things lined up. So I thought this was a little bit easier way to do it. So let's see. So now we need to do some die cutting before we can bring all of this together and put it together. So here I've got the mini cut and emboss machine. Just using the mini because it's convenient. It's small, so it's easy to get in the camera. Let me see here. I say that, but I need to push it aside a little bit more. So I'm using my regular sandwich, the first base plate, then a cutting plate, and I'm staggering that second cutting plate like that. And then I'm going to line that up. About like that. Looks good. Make sure that it's straight. This word thanks is, it's not actually super straight, so it doesn't really matter if it doesn't line up perfectly. And then run that through. I just love the way this little Sentiment has these little, I don't know, just adds another interest, right? Just right on there. It makes it so easy to decorate instead of having lots of little fiddly bits. So you could certainly just leave that like that. Of course, I'm not going to, but you could. And then I'm going to bring in a piece of Mango Melody, and then this is another die that's actually going to be backing this piece. So I'm going to cut that out. Oops. Get that paper out of my way because it's making my die cutting machine move. Here we go. All right. And that's going to be like that. And then I also had one more piece, if you recall, another piece of the Designer Series paper, and I'm going to cut that out with the die as well. And I'm going to back those two together just because the Designer Series paper is a little bit thinner than the cardstock, and because it's only attached part way, I wanted to give it a little more heft. Okay, so that's, let's see, so that's that. Oh, wait, I do have one more thing to die cut. Forgot. Bring that back, and I'm going to die cut. So this is a piece of Balmy Blue, and I have attached the, what do you call it? The adhesive sheet, an adhesive sheet on the back of it. Adhesive sheet is actually basically a really thin piece of double stick tape. So I took peeled one side off of it, attached it to the back of this Balmy Blue, and then I'm going to bring in these two flower dies, and just going to add another little level of interest on the card. You could certainly just color it in, but or you could just leave it white, but I wanted to bring that light blue color onto the front of the card as well, and into the sentiment. So I don't have my die brush right here with me, so I'm going to just go ahead and slide that out, and that one. Set that aside. There's two. That one came out easily. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to just set those aside for a minute. And let's get to making the card, the rest of the card base. So you know, we've got this paper, but how do we get the feet of the screen, right? Well, we're going to use your punches. So I've got the Decorative Circle punch, and I am going to use that. It's funny, I can see the reflections in it, to create the leg. So I'm going to fold this in half, fold one side in half, and I'm going to bring it upside down, and I'm lining it up. And there's two ways I'm lining it. One, I want it to be, so this punch has like a center and then a second ridge and then a third ridge. So I'm lining it up about halfway through the third ridge, and then I'm also lining it up side to side, and I'm watching here, this part of the punch, to see that I've got it centered in both directions. And then I kind of push it down halfway, look at it again. I can make some adjustments based on where I see it halfway. And this is a good one you do standing, because I'm going through 2 layers, so I really do have to push hard on that. And then the next one is easier, because all I'm going to do is open that up, and now I'm going to line it up and put it in, and I'm just lining it up to where that other piece was. So again, just kind of lining that up. Now I'm going to line it up so it's a little bit easier to see. And it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned. It'll be close, and that'll be good. So I kind of push it in so I can see where it was, and then pull it back out. There we go. So there you go. Now I have my screen. And we have lots of different punches that you can use. This just happened to be the one that I had, but you probably already got something in your stash that you can use. All right, so now we've got all of our pieces, so let's go ahead and start assembling our little assembly line. So I'm going to take my, this will be the front of my card, and I'm going to layer these 2 pieces together. And then I'm going to put it on my card base. You can really do this in any order. And I'm just centering it, top and the 2 sides. There we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and put these other layers of the Designer Series paper in. Again, just lining it up on each panel. I'm going to try and get it. I think it's more important that it's lined up along the top and the bottom than it is side to side. If the side to side is a little bit off, I don't think you'll notice it as much. But I feel like the top, I'll notice if they're not lined up pretty close. And then this last piece. And then thought this would make, of course, this I have as a thank you card, but this could be a fun Mother's Day card. Could be a birthday card. I think there are a lot of options for you. Okay, so now when I line this one up, I know, of course, that the center is, that this one with the sentiment is going in the center. So I'm going to put that one on first. And I'm just going to kind of center it here. And then, just in case these got a little messed up, I can just double check. Okay, is that the right one? No, it's not. There you go, see? There we go, I know that one goes there. And that's the one that's gonna go there. So, just in case when you set it aside, they're not, you kind of, like I said, you kind of mix them up. It's a good way to double check. There we go. I just think this is so pretty. So fun. Kind of, I feel like it's got kind of an Asian feel. The flowers do, the way they kind of run across the 3 panels. So I think that's kind of fun. All right, so the inside of the card is done. And of course you could decorate it in different ways. You could do something, you know, different sentiments. There's a lot of different things you can do. And now let's go ahead and assemble our sentiment. So I'm going to take the designer series paper and I'm just putting it right on top of the cardstock layer. And again, it's just really doing that to give it some heft, some strength, because it's going to be hanging off the side. So in order for this to fit in the envelope, let me show you. So clearly it fits this way, and I would say put it in this way. But you can have this part sitting off a little bit, but you just want to make sure it's not too far off because you want it to fit in the envelope. So I feel like, you know, I want it, I don't even need it that far off. I kind of want it to be about 3/4 on the panel and 1/4 off. And that's just, to me, that's just to give it some stability. So I'm going to go ahead, I kind of just did that fast. Did you see that? I lined it up. Okay, that's kind of where I want it. I turned it over that way so that I could see that's where I want it. Attached my glue, my adhesive, and then I'm going to bring this back over and press it down. Okay, and now with this piece, I'm going to put on dimensionals. So you could either use just regular dimensionals, or you could use the foam adhesive sheets. You can do it like a rectangle. But I have dimensionals here, and I'm going to put quite a few of them on. I want it to be lots of dimensionals. You know, and I think before I put that on there, I'm going to go ahead and do the next step, just because it is a little bit fiddly. So this is definitely a step that if you don't like to do little fiddly bits, that you could just leave this part off. This is where I say you could color those pieces. But I'm going to go ahead and take this adhesive off of this little flower, and I'm going to put it, layer it right on top of, I'm trying to do this in the air. Let me see here. Okay, it'd be easier to do it this way. Sometimes fingers are better. And doing it on camera is always harder. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry. There we go. And a lot of times as you peel that off, see all those inner pieces kind of came off. Now this will go on there. It is kind of got a direction. So I'm kind of trying to line it up. I think that's about it. So I put one of them just around the white. So it kind of just looks blue. And then I'm going to do the same thing with one of the smaller ones. And I'm going to put it on this side. And then the other two, there we go. There we go. All those little pieces came off. Hold that like that. This one doesn't line up quite as, it's not as critical that it lines up exactly. There we go. And then when I do the other two, I'm going to do it on a solid flower. So it's not as important. It doesn't really line up. So it doesn't really matter. There we go. I just am really looking to see that, well, maybe it does line up. Make sure you're in the I'm in the camera. There we go. I really kind of just want to make sure that the center is open. And then I have one more, there it is. One more small one to put on. I think it just gives it a little bit of interest. I could have brought in the pink. This paper is different than the other one. I'll bring in the original one that I did so that you can see that I just used a different piece of designer series paper. It's all still the Regency Park, but I didn't have enough, you know, because of my class, I didn't have enough to do for another piece. So I used a different front. And, you know, there are all different colors in this paper. This Regency Park paper is really beautiful. There's reds and pinks and blues and greens. And so, you know, you can adapt it to whatever your favorite color or your recipient's favorite color is. So let's see. I think the thing that really appealed to me in this stamp set is the variety of it, and I just love the dies. There we go. So I just attached that right like that. And then, oh, I forgot. So you can see what I did when I stamped. I won't do the whole thing. I'll just show you on the envelope. You can see I stamped and I just changed the direction. I did the same thing, stamped. These two are stamped off and this one is stamped, stamped on. But I want to bring you, so here's my original. You can see the front is a little bit different. So I don't know if you have a preference. This one's got a little bit more color. And then when I was designing it, this is actually the first one that I did. So you let me know which one you like best. This was the first one, and this is the Designer Series paper. This is part of the Regency Park Designer Series paper. And with this one, I kind of played around and added some green to those little berries or whatever they are, but I don't know, I wasn't so crazy about that. And it's lovely, but I kind of liked the yellow better. I don't know, what do you think? That little pop of yellow I thought was really pretty. So this one's a little more simple. And then I was playing around, like I said, and then I did one in pink. So this one, I did the petal pink. This is another piece of Designer Series paper. And then I did the petal pink in the background. And then I did some of the flowers in the blue and some in the pink. And this pink layer is also part of the Designer Series paper. So I don't know. And then I did pink and blue there. So tell me, do you have a preference? You like, which one do you like best? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Got 2 yellow, pink, petal pink, and the first one, which is kind of more simple. And then would you do your flowers or not? Let me know in the comments if you've made it all the way to the end of the video and if you have a preference. Thanks for joining me today. Again, my name is Linda Edwards with Crafty Here in Designs. I try to do a video about once a week or at least a couple times a month. If you would like to see future videos, please follow me, like me, comment, and you will be, if you subscribe to my channel, you will be notified of when I come online again or when I submit some more videos. I haven't started the live videos yet. I may do that at some point, but for right now, I pre-record the videos and then upload them. It's just easier for me to do it that way. So take care. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And again, thanks for joining me. Ta-ta for now.